Hello, this is episode 11 of Go in Bit series, and today I'm teaching you how function works in Go. So first of all, let's start with a simple function. I will first write the code and then explain you how it works. So I will say there is a function called add, func add. It receives two type of parameter a and b. The both are integer type of parameter, and this function returns a int type of value. Okay, so now if I just return a plus b and we get both of the parameters and made a sum addition, and now if I call this function here, I will say result add, and we will add two numbers 2 comma 3. Okay, also now let's print it. So I will print it now. So we can see the output is 5. Now there is a cool thing about functions is if we know that both type of parameters are type of same type, like here we can see it is repeating the integer type here, so we can replace these two things with a single variable called n. So if I make this n and instead of a comma here, I will add the operation here. So if I say 2 plus 3, so again if I run this now, we can see the same result. We can add asterisk, we can add multiply or stuff to get a different result out of it. I can add minus, then the value will subtract each other. Okay, so this is how this works. This is the one example of how we can use a parameter based function. Now let me show you how we can use a non-parameter based function. So I will say function get lang, which is language, and this does not get anything. This does not get any parameter, but instead it return three strings. So I will say first is a type of a string, second is type of a string, and third is type of a string. Now if I open this, and then I will just simply return three strings. So I will return three languages here: Go, JavaScript, and C++. Okay, so we are returning three things now. Now if I comment this out and call this function, so I will say language1, language, actually might get lang1, language2, and language3, and I will get three parameters in the same order. So string is string is string. It is from getLang function. So if I print these now, so I'll just have to say lang1. Okay, so I will add 3 and 2 here. Okay, so if I compile and run this now, we can see Go, JavaScript, and C++. Suppose if we add a different thing here, like Boolean, so I will say now the final value will return a Boolean type, and I will say true. So we can also get the last thing here, which is true or is okay, and we can also print this here. So this is the beauty of this function. A function can have multiple return value types. So this is one example of returning multiple values type. We can also ignore, suppose we don't want these two things to be there, so we can also ignore these by adding underscores here, and now these two are gone, and our Go compiler will also not complain, because if I add lang3 here, lang2 here, then our compiler will complain that okay, this is the unused variable. But if we want to remove the unused variable but still want only one or two things from the function, then we can simply add underscore to suppress the unused variable type. Now let me show you how we can pass a function as an argument. So let me create a function called apply operation. I will say function apply operation. It will take an integer and a function called operation, which is type of function, and it will also return an integer. Okay, but the operation function will return an integer and the apply operation function will return an integer. Now if I open the parenthesis, we can return the function here, operation and n. So this is how we can return an function inside a function. So what we have said is we have a function called apply operation, which is returning integer. Then we have a parameter which is the type of integer, we have an operation which is type of function. The function is anonymous and the function is getting a type of integer and returning a type of integer, and then we are returning the type of operation, the operation function we have got. So if I remove all of this, and now if I create two things, double, and I will call a function, the anonymous function, I will say x int, and it is returning integer, and return x into 2. Okay, now I will make another function called square. We are passing a function inside a function, so I am creating two functions for this. So I created a double function and a square function now. So this square function also takes an integer called x, also returns an x integer, and now we will do x asterisk x. Okay, now we have two functions. So what we can do is, I will directly print it so we won't have the reference value here, println, and I will say apply operation, and then we pass the integer and the function here. So I will say double, and for the next thing we can pass a square here. Okay, so if I run this now, you will get 10 and 25 because the double of 5 is 10, the square of 5 is 25. Okay, now let me explain this function again. So we have a function called apply operation. It takes an integer which we are passing here, then it takes an function which we are passing here. This function is this one, the square function is this one. We have these two nameless function also called as anonymous function, and this apply operation is returning a type of int which you cannot probably see because the recording cut off it. So and the final operation function is returning as an integer. It is quite complex, but now if I look at this example, you will return that we are just passing a function inside a function, this function receiving this function, and the function is returning the n again, which we have done here. So it is as simple as that. Now let me show you how we can return a function inside a function. Okay, so I will create a function called multiplier. We will get a parameter called f, which is type of int. Then we will get a function, anonymous function, which will get the type int and return a type int. Now we will return here a function which is getting the type an int and returning an int. So all I can say, return n into factorial, or the f. We can make this f as a factorial. I think I should do that. Factorial. Okay, so now if I use this, let me comment this out or remove this. So now I will say times 2, and I will say multiplier of 2, and then we can say times 3. Okay, and the multiplier will be 3. So if I print these now, fmt.println and times 2, and I will pass 5 here, and times 3, and I will pass 5 here as well. So we will get 10 and 15. Okay, so the multiplier function getting this factorial value here, 2 into the n we are passing here. So 5 into 2 is 10, 3 into 5 is 15. As simple as that. So this is how we are returning a function inside a function, and how we are, so here we are passing a function as an argument, and here we are returning a function as an function. Okay, so function is quite easy, not that tough. You just go through a docs first and you will realize it is super easy to do. So that is all for today's video, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.